Welcome back to the Comics Lounge, and it looks like we finally might be getting some major news after the final Sony Disney deal, buyout, or whatever you want to call it, has happened. So stay tuned because we're going to be talking all about pros and cons of what we expect to see with this shocking Disney deal that went down a few weeks ago. We talked about this in my live stream, so go check that out. And then also, if you are not a patron yet of the Comics Lounge, please check out our Patreon. It is down in the link. It is a link down below in the description. But first, let's talk about Miles Morales because this is absolutely huge. The fact that he could be getting a live action movie very soon speaks to this Disney deal. But what do we now know about all of that going on? One thing's for sure, we do know that we're going to be getting Venom in the Spider-Man 2 video game, but we're also not just getting Spider-Man in the Spider-Man 2 video game. A bunch of footage has been released by Sony that shows that we are getting Miles Morales as a playable character, as well as a few other characters that could possibly be playable or not, with a really new cool physics of being able to fly and, well, not fly, but glide with the spider suits that they are coming out with, which is absolutely amazing. So, how does the Disney deal affect all that? Well, basically, Sony's going to be allowed to finish making whatever they already have in the works. Now, with Tom Holland coming out and saying, hey, we put Spider Man 4 on pause until after the writer's strike, that kind of means that they're thinking more about a lot to do with Tom Holland and where he's going to be after all of the events of the latest Marvel movies. And then to announce that he could be side by side with Miles Morales live action after the events of Across the Spider-Verse, which I'm not getting into because I'm not doing spoilers yet. That will be next week. I'm going to let the movie kind of simmer and allow people to go see it before we sit here and do spoilers. It's not one of those movies that are massive spoilers because it's not part of a huge connected universe yet. But I do want to make sure that we keep those spoilers under wraps for the time being because everyone deserves to be able to go see this without spoilers if they don't want to hear them. So Sony and Spider-Man and Disney, all three of these are now going to be under the Disney umbrella, but Sony, well, actually, Sony's not under the Disney umbrella, but Sony is going to be pushed out. They got bought out, $4.1 billion. We talked about that's actually closer to $11 billion after everything is said and done. Craven the Hunter is still in the works. That's coming out this year. You've got El Muerto. You've got Madam Web. All of those are in the works. We know that Sony wants to have as much of their hand in those as possible. And we know from our insiders that that is part of that deal, that Sony is still going to finish those and possibly even finish the untitled Venom 3 sequel to Let There Be Carnage. Now, that's where it kind of gets iffy because, in my opinion, I think they should just give Venom over, let Marvel do what they want to do, and kind of go from there, which basically means we could get a reboot, but I think it's going to be a very, very, very soft reboot. If there's anything that happens, it's going to be more retconning than it is reboot style, which is perfectly okay. We're talking about obviously a new company taking over. Same thing's going to happen with the mutants, but mutants are definitely going to be a much harder reboot because it has to be. Like, there has to be a new era of mutants, and we have to know where everything's been and why the mutants weren't part of the MCU. Like, all of that has to come out at some point in some way, shape, or form. Basically, this is a totally different situation than we ever saw or were going to see with Marvel and Sony. Sony has not been completely bought out like Fox was. Basically, this is Marvel buying back their character and every character that's been placed under that Spider-Man umbrella. So there's a lot of moving parts here. It's no shock that there are so many moving parts that we don't even know all of the deal yet. Even the insiders who are working on this deal and have kind of let some things known to the public don't know and can't know all of the inner workings of this simply because there's so many moving parts, and these contracts are getting written and rewritten as the days go on. So now, what does that mean for the Spider-Woman animated TV show that we're going to be getting? Well, she's going to be getting an animated TV show. He's going to be going from animated to live action, and he is going to be doing a whole new trilogy. Plus, with all of that, we also know that Andrew Garfield has officially said that he is done with Spider-Man. Obviously, he's also said that no one is ever going to believe him ever again. But unfortunately, it has said, or he has said, and it's been kind of leaked and released that he's done. He has not signed a new contract. There's nothing really to do. He isn't, I feel like he's upset about it, but I mean, I would be too if I were him. And honestly, I think that it's one of those things where that is what it's going to be. It's kind of crazy to think about the fact that Andrew Garfield, one of my favorite Spider-Man out of the three live action versions, and definitely one of the best people to ever play a modern version of Amazing Spider-Man and Peter Parker in that universe, so to speak. It definitely sucks that we're not going to be seeing him next year, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. We're going to gloss over that. We're probably never going to get another Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Even in Secret Wars, I don't see that happening. If we did, we're not going to get a Spider-Man 4 from him. That's just, it's moved. We moved on past it. So what does all that Sony Disney deal news kind of mean? It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell exactly where all of this is going to go, but basically, here's my hope for it. Obviously, Marvel's going to do what they've been doing with Tom Holland Spider-Man. That's been working. It's been working out really great, and Sony's been a fan of it ever since the newest deal was done right before No Way Home. Ever since that newest deal was done, and they basically agreed to something that's been working really well. Even before that, when all that drama happened right before COVID, nobody really got upset. Secondly, I do believe that we will be getting a live action Miles Morales very, very soon. Who will produce and write and all of that is still so far up in the air. Whether that's actually a Sony thing, who knows? Sony obviously announced it. They are excited for it. They announced it. They also announced Spider-Woman. But at the end of the day, who's to really say that, yeah, that's going to be our project because you got bought out? Like, it's kind of like the episode of The Office. You were bought out, sir. All those clients become ours. So, like, what's going to happen to these two projects? Who knows? My hope is that Marvel takes them over, that Marvel has a major hand in it, and that they kind of put their spin on it, especially with the live action Miles Morales. Like, for these two to be seen on the same screen, Tom Holland and whoever ends up playing Miles, and for the casting to go the right way for Miles. I feel like the casting has to be someone that Marvel wants because one, they have an amazing track record with casting, and two, like the chemistry between these two Spider-Men has to be there. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that we've seen in every iteration. Even in the video game, you got to believe that Miles is Peter's best friend, that Miles is Peter's protege. Like, there's so much there that you got to be able to see it, and you got to be able to understand the dynamics of these two characters, the chemistry that these two characters have to have on screen, because if they don't, it's not going to work. Obviously, in an animated or video game, it's not as visible. But when you get to live action, if there's no chemistry, it ruins the movie or TV show. So definitely be looking out for this in the near future. And again, please make sure to go subscribe. We've been very fortunate to have a lot of our stuff kind of blown up recently, and you guys have been supporting us like no other. So I really appreciate that. But also, please go check our Patreon. It's in that link in the description. If you've been watching this far, you definitely want to be able to follow us more. So you can join our group chat, be part of our monthly stuff that we're doing on there. And there's so many perks. Go check it out. Get in where you fit in, because it's definitely one of those things where we want to support the people who are supporting us. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. And as always, check out our live streams Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys later.